What's up, Latrice? How are you today?
You know what? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Just like I said, this Wi-Fi been acting a damn fool all day today. But other than that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm actually doing really good. I'm having a good day, good week this week. A busy week, but a good week nonetheless. You know, how you doing?
I'm doing good. You know how it is. Always working for this festival. It's life right now.
Hallelujah. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So speaking of, let's jump into the conversation. First of all, you're a podcaster yourself, and while it's not important or necessary for a person that is doing work inside of podcasting, especially in the leadership level, to be a podcast creative, it's always good because you have that connection, you have that personal
Mhm.
connection, that passion behind it to know what other folks are going through, know what other folks might be experiencing, and know what other folks might need, right? And so that's always the plus of being a podcaster. I definitely know that for myself. So tell us about, the work you've done, the podcast that you have created, and I hear it's going to be ending, but I'm sure that's a shift. So first of all, tell us about Unicorns Talk podcast.
Yes. So, I started Unicorns Talk podcast about 3 years ago. And it was really a friend of mine, Derek. Shout out to Big Booty Derek. Derek, he gonna be so mad with me. I can't believe you called me Big Booty Derek.
Good thing we don't know who he is, so you all good.
But yeah, like it started off with like him making a recommendation. He's like, you ever thought about doing a podcast? And I didn't even know what podcasts were, but I'm not gonna lie, podcasting has really been a very powerful light force in my life. It was, is one of those. It was everything that I needed that I didn't know I needed, through podcasting, through specifically Unicorns Talk podcast. It has really kind of brought me through this chapter of my life that was a very difficult chapter. I decided to do Unicorns Talk because specifically that type of show where I'm talking to Black women about issues that Black women have from a mental and emotional standpoint. So all of the everyday things that we experience in our lives, and how we are affected by those things emotionally and how we can deal with those things. I'm a therapist by trade, and I'm also a certified life coach. And so, everything that I do has like a mental and emotional wellness kind of spin to it. And so one of the things that I really wanted to accomplish with Unicorns Talk is to be able to make mental health and wellness something that's tangible, because a lot of times it can feel very almost kind of elitist, to a certain extent. If you listen to a lot of these coaches and people out there who talk about wellness, they make it seem like it's something that has to cost you hundreds of thousands or thousands or tens and thousands of dollars. And if you don't have these tens of thousands of dollars to put toward it, then you're not serious about it. You know what I'm saying? And so I wanted to be able to provide, an outlet or an option for people to be able to heal themselves in a way that was tangible, that was relatable, that was palatable, and easily digested. And so that's how Unicorns Talk podcast came about. But what I didn't expect from the podcast is how much healing it was gonna like bring to me. I have like 68 episodes, I think it is 68 or 69 episodes over the course of 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And in those episodes, you really get to hear my own progression. Sometimes I would get on the mic and I would just be like, I know I'm supposed to be telling y'all something right now, but truth be told, I'm having a bad fucking day right now, and I'm just gonna tell y'all about my bad fucking day. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's relatable, and people really, like connect to that. Yes, absolutely. Wellness is a human right, but I believe that healing is your birthright. Like you deserve healing. It's not something that, is only reserved for certain people. It's for everybody. It's just that a lot of us don't know how to get to it.
Yeah.
And so Unicorns Talk has been a beautiful, beautiful blessing in my life. And it got me through a very difficult chapter of my life. And I'm on the other side of it now, you know? So
That's good.
I think it's time for that chapter to close.
All right, got that, got that. I was going to ask you because of what you said. You set out your intentions, right, for the podcast, and I think that's always important for anything that we do. That there's some sort of intention behind it, so you have some sort of measurement for yourself. And so I was going to ask you what was your measurement of success in this space, and you kind of just answered it: healing yourself.
Well, you know, that really wasn't my measurement initially, you know, and honestly, it's still kind of not my measurement.
Mm-hmm.
It was the unexpected blessing from the whole journey and the whole process. But you know, when I first started doing podcasting, just like most new podcasters trying to figure it all out, I was very much into like the download numbers, you know, and it was disheartening for me, like especially in that first season, because I would get people coming to me and they were like, man, your show is so awesome. Or people would message me or like reach out to me. Or if I saw somebody, you know, at a podcasting conference or something like that, and they would be like, you know, your show is so awesome. And I get so much out of listening to your show. And, you know, I be talking back to you, girl, and feel like I'm sitting there talking to my best friend. And then I look at the download numbers and it's like 10 downloads. It's like 100 downloads. And I'm like, well, damn, you know, like if, you know, what's happening? Why is it that I'm not getting the downloads and the exposure that I feel like I deserve? And so I had to really adjust the way is that most podcasts are not getting tens of thousands of downloads. The average podcast is only getting a couple hundred downloads, you know, but they don't show that side of it. They're not really telling the true story of that. So I started to make that shift in how I measured success, and for me, I feel like the success is in the story. It's in the people coming back to me and saying, man, like, that episode you did on such and such, man, that shit really helped me, you know, or the people telling me that they drove for hours to come and hear me talk or something like that. Like, that's how I started measuring success.
That's really dope. You were able to come through, like your voice is coming through, but you're back to pixelated, and I kind of stopped you there because it's starting to get distorted in you. All right, so that's what's up, you know. And speaking of that, as you were closing out before I brought up that question, you talked about it ending, you know, and that you're getting ready to come to a conclusion with Unicorns Talk podcast. What is there a plan for fizzling that out that you have right now?
Yes. So I will be doing my last show on November 7th.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Live finale show. It'll be virtual live because that's kind of my thing, you know. And yes, a virtual live show on November 7th. And I'm going to just talk about my journey through podcasting and talk about why I'm doing my last finale show on November 7th. I decided that it was time to bring it to a close. I kept people kept asking for the next season, when you're going to do more episodes. And I was just like, you know, every time I sit down to try to record something, it just don't want to come out. And so I feel like it's time. It's ready to close out that chapter and, you know, just talk about what that journey was like for me or what that journey has been like for me. For anybody out there who is going through a similar journey of or trying to figure out or not knowing when it's time to close a particular chapter in their life. You know, I feel like that's something that's important for us to communicate about, knowing when it's time to close that door, because I've had several instances in my life where I'm trying to force something to happen, you know, and I'm just so like, no, this has to happen. And I'm just feeling all this anxiety and all of this frustration about trying to make it happen. And I've learned that a lot of times that's the indicator that it's time to let that thing go. So that's what we're going to be talking about in the finale episode. I feel like it's fitting, it's fitting.
Nice, nice. I think that we as creatives, like we as people anyway, but by running that song is your prerogative, right? But it didn't catch on for some reason. We still aren't clear that it's our prerogative. We do what we want to do when we want to do it. When you want to shift, shift. When you want to leave something alone, leave it alone. And I think a lot of it is wrapped up in what are other people going to say? What's the audience? How the audience going to react? How are my listeners? And that's also within scarcity, right? Afraid of you making your own personal individual decision for yourself because you're afraid that what you're going to lose, and not even considering what you gain when you stop what you're doing that has now something that you love. It turns into a burden sometimes. It turns into a chore when it's no longer resonating. And a lot of that comes to as well is that it served you. It served you well.
It has served me extremely well. Like, I could not have written a better story. You know what I'm saying? This podcast, Unicorns Talk podcast, is so much more than just a show for me. Like, this show has brought me to a piece of myself that has always existed, but that I never was fully able to embrace. Like, this creative side of me has been opened and unlocked, and I am experiencing creativity in ways that I never have before. And not only am I experiencing that creativity, but I actually have the confidence to pursue that creativity, which is a whole other thing, and that's something that has never existed for me, ever. I've always been a creative person. I always like to write and draw and act and dance. Listen, you remember that song, I Miss You by Aaron Hall? I miss you. You remember that song? Let me tell you how I did a whole liturgical dance in my bedroom to that song. Listen, Ty, I'm talking about me, myself, and I, talking about however old I was. Couldn't have been no more than 10, 11, 12, however old I was when that song came out. But like, just being moved by that music and by that song. But that's something I never would have did out in the public. So that creative side of me has always been there. But I never had the confidence to really be able to put that out into the world. And Unicorns Talk podcast has given me that. And so for that, it will always, always be a part of my story and my journey. But it's also a part of my story that has come to a close. It has served its purpose. And so now that it has served its purpose, it's time for me to move on to something else, to the next level.
Yeah. And what I heard is that you created possibility for yourself inside of what you did. You finally did something that was urging at you, asking you, come on, let's get something done. Let's do something creative.
Yeah.
And then you were committed to it. And then you did it for 2 seasons. And that puts the trust back in yourself. When we keep saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and we don't do Nathan, then, then it also creates another story in our head that we're not going to fulfill something. We're not going to do it. It's a great idea. It's a nice idea, but will I ever really make it happen? And so once you actually make something happen, that's when the possibility and that trust within yourself, aka confidence, comes. But you got that's how you finish, So that's what's up. So you're finishing now.
I'm finishing, and I feel I'm actually really excited about it. It's like it's really like a moment for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a moment, like, to be able to kind of look at where I was when I first started this show, looking at where I am now, and where I'm going. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel, oh my God, I'm so excited about where I'm going. Like, my creativity is through the roof right now. I have so many different things that come to me on a regular basis. And it's not just like show topics like it was when I first got started. I had a whole, I still have a whole list of show topic ideas that I would just write them out and write them out and write them out. And then I check them off as I use them. But now it's entire concepts,
Yeah.
like entire production concepts that, I'm like really hearing sounds differently, and I'm seeing images differently, because now I'm looking at it from a more creative context of the overall project, versus just doing this one thing.
Yeah, yeah. And what's possible now? It's all
Yeah.
all possible now, right? Versus
It is, especially with this partnership, Afros and audio. I told you, first time that I saw Afros and audio, I came across Afros and audio through Sean Moore. Shout out to the Mindful Rebel podcast. Yes. So I met Sean at the APOD Connection, and he and I connected on Instagram. And then I saw him posting about the first annual conference in 2018, or 2019 rather, last year. And so I was like, oh, wow. Like I felt a connection to Afros and audio from the time that I saw the logo. I was like, I just felt it in my spirit. You know what I'm saying? And so I applied, and I was supposed to present last year. But the job that I had at the time, I was doing military counseling. So I was doing a lot of traveling. And literally, it was like 2 weeks before the show, something like that, I found out that I had to go back to Cuba.
dang.
And I was devastated. Like, you have no idea how much I was looking forward to. My bestie, one of my besties, he was coming out there with me. Like, we was making a whole thing of it. Like, we was going to the conference. You know what I'm saying? And so when I had to cancel, I felt so bad. And I just kept saying, I'm going to work with them. I am going to work with Afros and audio. Like, this is something I am going to do. I feel it in my bones. So when it came back up this year, I was like, I'm going to put in for it again. And I got it again for this year. And then fucking coronavirus. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, for real, Rona, for real. But it didn't feel like, how I was saying sometimes, we keep trying to force something to happen, and it's not trying. It didn't feel like I was forcing it, though. Like, I didn't feel like it was this uphill battle. It just felt like, it just wasn't the right time. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't get that feeling of like, like pulling and pushing and really forcing something to happen. But what I realized now, I didn't realize at the time, but what I realized now is that all of this was meant to happen, because now I am a part of the Afros and audio team.
Yes.
So it's not just any longer about me just doing a presentation here or there. Now I am actually a part of making this organization grow and making our community members really reach their peak and get to their highest level and learn all of the things that they need. And that's way more than I ever could have imagined. And not only is it, for me, it's a beautiful thing to be able to give back to people. And that's what I do. You know what I'm saying? That's what I do. My whole life is about helping people reach their highest level. But it also serves me, because I have met some amazing people doing these interviews and doing, the back end moderation and stuff like that. I'm talking about internationally, award-winning producers and podcasters. Shout out to In Your Jeans Pod. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I have been positioned to be able to really explore my creativity and learn from some of the people who are like the best in the business, to really grow my skills and be able to, visualize a concept and put that concept out there. And I'm excited to see what comes out, because I've never I never attempted nothing like this
Listen,
before, you know? So I'm excited to see what comes out.
me neither. I haven't either. But
And look, but even connecting with you, like
yeah,
I'm super excited about, you know, Vanguard. I know we ain't really like talking about Vanguard just yet. Y'all hold up because it's coming. But partnering with you and like working with you, I've never had such a ease in collaboration with somebody before. And we're not even collaborating on creative ideas yet.
yeah,
Like we're just collaborating on trying to put events together for Afros and audio and, you know, stuff like that. And I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like it's going pretty well, you know? And so I'm just thinking in my mind, like, what's going to happen when we finally start collaborating
yeah.
creatively and growing, you know, growing ourselves creatively together. I think I'm super excited about it. Like I think it's, and I'm grateful to be able to have this experience with you. Because you're so cool and you're so down to earth and you're very zen-like, you know what I'm saying? I be trying to be petty and you be like, no, sis, we're not gonna be petty.
Well, there's a whole lot. That took a lot of work. That's active effort. So, but you know, just going back to what you were saying before, I believe that the universe is always working on your behalf, even
Always.
like it ain't. You know, the universe is always working on your behalf, and I think that if more people embrace that idea and that concept, a lot of the stresses that we have, and stress is one of the main things that gets us in an early grave. So please, if you're hearing me, stop it. But stress, that anxiety about what may happen, that, you know, it becomes a story, but the universe is always supporting you and got your back some way, somehow, right? And then the second piece of that, and I've learned that I'm a bit of a philosopher. You know, that's arguable, but you know, I believe that as we manifest our vision then begins to manifest us. And what that means is that once we start the creation, once we start, my vision of myself, it only exists within where I am today. You know, I can
Mm.
go further, but it's still within this concept of who I am right now. But I'm clear because of how this journey has been going, and is the more that I created possibility for myself, how things shifted, was that I'm clear that, just like you said, the more I progress, the more things expand, the more people I meet, the more opportunities become available. And the vision I see for myself right now, I haven't even fathomed that shit yet.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
because there's someone out there or something out there that's going to change my whole experience and my trajectory, but it won't happen, you know, sitting on my couch or behind a curtain. You know what I mean? That will.
Yes.
So
You have to put yourself out there, you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, even like I just told you my whole story of how we got to this
right,
moment right now. You
right,
know, I with the with the a pod connection ATL, they did a what you call it, I keep wanting to call it a challenge, but it wasn't a challenge. They did a
yeah,
contest, right? So they did an Instagram contest where people had to vote on and recommend their favorite podcast to do a live show. I ain't never did no shit like that before. And I told you my download numbers was not where it was, you know what I'm saying, or where I felt like they needed to be. So I never thought in a million years that I would be one of the people to get selected for that. But I did. And then when I get to the live show, it was people, one girl came up to me right after my show and she was like, oh my God, you did a great job. She was like, I drove 6 hours to come and hear you do your live show. And I was like, me down, me? You know, like I went into it feeling like the underdog. And one of the other shows that I felt like was a really, really good show, they actually, you know, intimidated me. The guy, that one of the hosts from the show, he come up to me and I was like, man, I'm so damn nervous. He was like, nah, he was like, I ain't gonna lie. He's like, I know your show is for women. He was like, but I ain't gonna lie, I be listening to your shit. You know what I'm saying? On my way to work in the morning. And I was flabbergasted by that. So, you know, meeting Sean at that event, which was something that was benign, I met 1 million people at that event. That was something that was benign to me.
Yeah.
It didn't really stand out like that, but meeting him at that event has led me to this moment right now and all of the moments that are to come. So you're absolutely right when you talk about, you know, you don't know which moment is going to be the moment. You don't know which moment is going to be trajectory changing. You just have to involve yourself in those moments, make yourself available for those moments. I talk a lot about I talk a lot about why am I drawing a blank right now? What's it called? I don't know. It's not coming to me. Oh, the law of attraction,
All right.
right? So I'm really big on
You
the
mean,
law of attraction, and huh?
you mean the law of attraction?
Yeah. That's you so helpful, Ty. You so helpful. But yes, I'm a really big believer in the law of attraction. I tell people all the time, we think that the law of attraction is, oh, I tell God what I want and it's just gonna miraculously show up in front of me one day. Or I tell the universe, I put the universe out there and tell the universe what I want, and then I just sit back and wait for that shit to happen. And it's like, no, like that's not the way that the law of attraction works. You put it out there, you communicate to the universe what it is that you want, and then the universe brings you opportunities for the manifestation of that thing. But you have to be paying attention to take advantage of those opportunities. You get what I'm saying? So there's still work involved. Like there's a level of awareness. There's a level of putting yourself out there. There's a level of, you know, I don't give a fuckness that needs to be
That
a part of what it is you're doing.
Yeah, that's the biggest part. And thank you, Beverly and K-Rob. Um, that's the biggest
Hey, girls, that's Curls. Hey, Carlene.
going on.
And I'm from my line sister too. Shout out to my line sisters, all of my line sisters, Delta Sigma Theta,
Thank y'all for joining.
Theta Xi Springle Full, 16 Cries of Confusion. Sorry, go ahead.
But that's the thing too, and you know, I talked about this with Blake earlier. It is really about deciding that it's 2020 and we free people. And it is, if we continue to move along with the status quo, we continue to look for the monetization aspect of it in the same way that everything has been monetized all these years, when it's not laid out the same way, for a lot of people of color or Black creatives, the journey is not laid out the same way. The path is not laid out the same way. And so if we to go along with status quo or believe that the way things have been is the way things need to stay, then we're going to consistently be spinning in a circle. And so that's even the point of the festival, is to have these conversations where we start to understand our power and the power of people, and the power of understanding that nothing that looks that the way it has looked has to stay the same. Doesn't have to remain the same. And we get to change and shift this the way we want it to look. And that's our right. That's within our capability. It's very possible. Yeah. And so that where I'm connecting with that is the not giving a fuck. You really have to not give a fuck about the fact that this is how it's always looked, so let me follow this same path. That's not the way things are going to change in 2020 and beyond. We are now clear that a lot of stuff that's been constructed is bogus. So now how do we construct without the external saying, this is what it looks like, this is what you accept, this is the only way to do things? Mm-hmm. That's outside shit that you don't even need to worry your brain about, because there is possibility in what you choose to create yourself. And so speaking of that, you know, you're talking about some of these concepts that you have and these ideas that you have, and they're being, you know, grander. So what is the next step? What is, and very briefly, because I know we got some other things to talk about, but what's a vision of yours right now for yourself?
You know, the vision honestly is really moving more into like full scale production. You know, like most indie Black podcasters, I have operated in a silo for really the whole time, the last 3 years. Everything that I do, every episode of Unicorns Talk podcast, from the first to the damn last, has been a solo production, you know? And so it's hard. It's very difficult. And I have finally gotten to a place where I'm ready to kind of elevate to the next level. I've done a lot of research on learning this craft. And just really putting my mind toward wanting to be one of the best to do it. And I'm still at the beginning stages of that, but I mean, when the girl decides that she gonna do some shit, you better believe she gonna make that thing happen.
Right.
I'm a quick learner, and so I'm excited about really looking at production from a much broader standpoint, and not just looking at it in terms of getting on the mic and what I'm gonna talk about this week, but actually putting a full package together. So I have about 2 or 3 shows that I'm working on right now, and I be having to like pace myself, because I'm like, Treese, you can't put everything out all at one time. And so I'm in pre-production on 2 of my shows now, really like pre-production, early pre-production, in terms of ironing out some of the details. What is it going to look like? What is the premise of the show? I started listening to some sound bites and things like that on how I want to try to put that together. So like really looking at full-scale production and taking it to the next level. My next show, though, that I am going to put out, I'm thinking I'm going to put it out right after I do, probably like toward the end of November. It'll be released. It's called Random Lives. I'm very inspired by other creatives, and so Kev on Stage has really been speaking to me lately. His son has a podcast now. He's 10 years old. It's called I Don't Know with JoJo, and I love the little show. It's so cute because it's him and JoJo produces the show. They talk about the top 5 Pixel movies. They talk about top 5 desserts, like they talk about stuff that 10-year-olds want to talk about. But it's a good show. And what I love about the show is that as they are talking, Kev is teaching JoJo how to become a producer. And so I'm learning too, you know what I'm saying? And so one of the things he does is he takes his YouTube videos and he turns them into podcasts.
Okay.
And so I do a ridiculous amount of live streams on my Facebook page, inside of my Facebook group, which I'm actually going to be archiving my Facebook group pretty soon. It's not closing, but it is archiving because I need to focus my attention. And so I'm taking a lot of some of the best live streams that I've done over the years, and I'm just going to release them as a podcast, audio only. So I'm working on that now, and I'm doing them in batches. So the first 3 episodes will be released toward the end of November. I'm thinking probably Thanksgiving weekend. I'm going to go ahead and release those. And then, that'll be the first project that I release while I'm in production on the other projects. So that's where I am right now. I also have my academy, Trust Village Academy. I did a soft launch, and I learned a lot from that launch. And so now I'm working on the next big launch for that as well. And the academy is a space where, I teach these skills. I do webinars and courses. Actually, tomorrow I'm wrapping up my parenting course. It's a 4-part parenting course called Purposeful Parenting, and that wraps up tomorrow inside of the membership, and it'll be available afterwards if anybody is interested in that. But I'm just creating, but really creating at the next level.
Nice. So at the festival, you are presenting Creative Burnout. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, I'm sure it's, wrapped into other things you've done in the past, and but tell us about that, what you're going to be presenting.
Yes, so I am presenting finally at the Afros and Audio. at the Afros and Audio Virtual Festival. I'm super excited about this, actually. My topic is the truth about creative burnout. And I felt like I always try to share my journey. I believe that we are on a shared journey. Everybody is at different points in their journey, but we're on this journey together. Everybody is. And so I went through a period of about a year or so, it's been a little over a year now, but a solid year where I burnt out. I could not create anything because I was in a place emotionally that was stifling my creativity. And so when I started coming out of that was right around the time that the request for presentations went out for Afros and Audio. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk about this because the research shows that 60 to 75% of all podcasters stop creating new episodes after the first year, right? And we see it all the time where people will have 5 or 6 episodes in the first season, or they'll have just one season and then they never come back for the next season. It's a lot of work to put a podcast together, and it can be very stressful. And then everybody feel like they got to monetize, and then you got to build the audience, and all. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of work. And so I wanted to be able to provide some insight, not only just to say, like, it's not just you. This is a thing. It's called pod fade. I don't know why it's not the official term yet, but that's pretty much the industry term. It's called pod fade. And it's a real thing. And it's something that we can overcome if we are smart about how we approach our creative process and really honoring our creative process. So that's what we're going to be talking about, how, what steps you can take to prevent, first and foremost, we want to prevent creative burnout. But if you do find yourself in a place where you are feeling burnt out, how do you take the time that you need for self-care? Like, I just stopped everything abruptly. And I was like, look, y'all, I'm going to come back to y'all. First, I said I'm going to take 30 days. And then that 30 days turned into 90 days. And then that 90 days turned into 180 days. And then here we was a year later. And people was like, well, sis, is you coming back? Or what's going on, So even this finale episode, they've been waiting over a year for this next episode, So I want us to have a real conversation about what are the causes of that burnout and how we can prevent it and how we can pull ourselves out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's something to be said, because I'm sure what you're going to present is going to be very substantial and kind of spell out certain reasons for this. I think we also don't give enough, and I don't know what's in your presentation. So you may talk about this, but I don't know if we give enough to comparison, where we're in that comparison of what someone else is doing or how someone else is successful, compared to us. And that's a reason for it stopping. There's the expectations recipe for for disappointment in most arenas, whether it's relationships, career, what have you. And I'm not saying don't have an intention, but what I'm saying, being open to however it turns out. I'm from the school that says it's not how it turns out, it's that it turns out, right? It's that my intention was to create a podcast. Now, my intention was to lend my voice. I was coaching two women who were working on a podcast, and they had all these limiting beliefs about what was going on. And I asked them who their demographic is. They were like, well, women that come from where we come from, from the same streets with the same type of experience and all that type of stuff. And, they were just very passionate about it. So then I said, so do you think because of your issues with your sound or you not knowing how to edit, those women don't still need your voice? They don't still need to hear from you? And they were like, what you say? And I'm like, do you think that they no longer need you because of your technical difficulties?
Yeah.
it's about that intention. It's about what is the impact, because it's going, podcasting is not instant gratification. It will, it's not. Unless you are already big name and you put it out. And even for them, like if they were to ever be real with you, their podcast is not getting the same look as what they have on YouTube or what have you. It's just not. And that's not because it's not quality, it's not valuable. It's because we are still a default entertainment society where video and visual is our default. Shit is changing. So it's really about staying in this, but also about really pushing for more listeners, right? If you're going to do it and you find value in it, then why aren't you advocating for it? I understand as a creative, I've created all my life and I throw it out there, make some great shit, throw it, and I'm back behind the curtain. Don't look at me, I'm hideous, right? But as long as we do that, then we're also not advocating for what we get to create inside of this industry. We're also not telling our family, our friends, whoever, because we're in a conversation about ourselves that no one else is privy to but us.
Yeah.
Don't think that you're good enough for that. You'd have to share that with them specifically. They're taking your word and what you're creating. And so these conversations that we're having with ourselves, they don't have to show up. And again, when I said that is active effort, that's in everything. That's choosing that every day, despite what the inner talk is saying, despite what your limiting beliefs are, despite what you think that person's come up is. Because I guarantee you, unless you talk to them on the phone and they've shared it with you, you don't have no clue what their come up journey looked like.
At all. Like I have, one of my coworkers, she tells me all the time, because she's getting into podcasting, and her show is actually really good. I love it. It's Suddenly Single. Y'all check it out. Okay. But she's like, oh, I'm so inspired by you. And like, she's like, you're the GOAT. And I'm like, girl, I am not the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, don't get it twisted. Like, I know a few things. I'm not like a novice anymore. I think I'm pretty good at this, and I'm definitely getting better at this, but I'm not the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? But even just hearing her say that, she's like, to me, you are the GOAT, And so, and one of my friends just the other day, she sent me one of those memes on Facebook, or one of them on Instagram. And it was basically like, keep sharing your stuff, sis, because even if they're not commenting, they watching, they see what you're doing. So you never know who you're impacting, but also when you're looking at somebody's journey, or when you're looking at somebody's rise or something like that, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I think about that all the time, and it took me a long time in my own journey to get to a place where I wasn't so affected by what other people thought, or like this image of what other people had of me. And now I talk freely about the struggles that I have in my business, or like the things that I need to learn in my business or in my life, in my relationship, stuff like that, because I feel like we need to be open about the truth of what the journey looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I have people that look at me and they see, they see I do this every Wednesday. They see that I have the podcast. They see that I'm interviewing on other people's podcasts. They see the membership, and they see this, that, and the other, and they like, damn, like Tree's killing it out here. Tree's doing this, and I'm like, bitch, I wish that checking account look like that too, you know what I'm saying? But it doesn't. But I still do it because it's a part of the grind. But there are days, just 2 weeks ago, my husband came home from work, took his shower and stuff, and he lay in the bed chilling. And he said, well, what's wrong, babe? And I said, babe, I'm just having a rough day today. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why I was having a rough day. I just felt very emotionally heavy on that day. And I just laid on his chest and I just cried silently for a few minutes. And he just held me and he let me have that moment and was in that moment with me. And then after I had that moment, I got my ass up and I came back in this office and I did some more editing. I did some more production work. I did send some more emails and stuff like that, because it's not an option to give up. I mean, it is an option. It's always an option. It's always on the table,
Yeah.
but it's not an option for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think what, and just like we talked about earlier about you becoming a possibility for yourself, understanding that anything that you do that someone else is on the sidelines, you know, or outside the jump rope, you know, kind of going like that, not sure, you become their possibility, you know? So whatever it is that you're doing, and again, they're not privy to your conversation. They see what you are presenting and providing, and that becomes possibility for them. You know, one of my other philosophies is that your greatness is not about you at all. Like,
At all.
are waiting for whoever it is, specifically to come out the shadows so that they can feel that they can as well. You know, so
Yeah.
once we start focusing out of ourselves, you know, and I think that's whenever we are start having conversations about what we're doing, typically it's connected to us focusing in too much on ourselves when it's not about us. You have the idea, you have the concept, you have what you're going to create, but it's about that person that you're going to make this impact on, you know? And so as creatives, focusing out is one of the best things that you can do, because once you're in contribution to someone else's life, like Afros and Audio doing this, like the Trust Village, it puts your shit into perspective. Not only does it put it into perspective, it also says, wait a minute, I'm not alone here. You know, I'm not alone here. People struggle, you know, and shout out to your husband for being a safe space for you when you needed it, because that's so important. And I think podcasting becomes that too. You know, you talked about when it was just you in the room, and it's like an opportunity where if no one else is going to listen, this
microphone gonna listen.
so important for mental health. You know, that's so important. People always talk about, you know, when you have little babies at home or whatever, you just go to work every day and you're so used to talking to just these little people or these professionals, and then it's like somebody calls you and it's like, damn, okay, now I get to talk for real. Adult conversation or whatever. It's the same thing with this opportunity to record and lay down your own perspective and your own experience and your heart. That's important.
Listen, I really believe that I'm actually working on a episode for one of my creative things, one of my creative projects, you know, called Acts of Self-Care. And I believe that podcasting is an act of self-care. It really is. Listening to and recording podcasts is an act of self-care on so many different levels. And you know, you talk about really stepping outside of self, and that's something that it takes time. You know what I'm saying? It takes time to get to that place. I'm just really still working on getting to that place where I'm not holding myself to other people. We talked about measurement of success. And so like a lot of people will have you to believe that you're not successful if you're not making 6 figures a year. You're not successful if you don't have such and such amount of money, if you can't afford this or you can't afford that. But that's not what success is for me. I don't care if I ever make $1 off of this. I'm doing it because of the impact that it's having on people's lives. And to me, that is success. And I have to find a way for that to be good enough for me.
And like you said, whether you receive $1 from podcasting specifically, which I wholly believe that you will, but whether you did or not, it's one aspect of yourself. And that's the other piece about being a creative. You're a creative, but you're also all these other things. You know, also, you know, there can also be a career. There can also be trauma. There could also be love. There can also be, you know, hobbies and all these things that we are whole beings, right? With all types of things going on. So no one died in the time that you took off, right? And so I even know that sometimes I'm like, damn, I didn't post this weekend, but shit, I needed a moment. And I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna do it. And here we are. Like it's just a blip. It's just a blip in our journey. Every piece of it, and even the failures or the missteps or whatever, is simply a blip in this journey that's long, you know? And you are going to learn from this experience or what you're going to create from this experience. It's everything. And it should not be taken for granted. It is
At all.
and
At all.
yeah, and that's what the festival is about, and what we're creating together is about people understanding that, listen, I see value in what we're creating. I see value in our community and our collaboration. If I didn't,
I would not be here.
right? And it matters. It matters not only for the art, but it also matters that we are literally recording our, however long podcast been going on to today and tomorrow. We are recording our journeys. We're recording our experiences, and that shit is important. Audio is king when it comes to that. If you think about any movie that you watch, when all things have gone to shit, people are on that ham radio like, do you hear me? Do you hear me? Are you out there?
Yes.
Audio is something that will carry for a long time, and I really want, especially people of color, Black people, people within our community, and women, transgender people, get whatever it looks like, to understand that this moment in time matters, and what we create based off of our own life experience, it matters. Fuck everything else that says it doesn't. You know what I mean? We've got to understand that, for ourselves, because that's how we change the game. We don't change the game and what they've been trying to make us believe for mad years. We don't. That's not how it changes. We change by believing in each other and what we get to create together. And so we're enough community and collaboration right there. So
absolutely.
I'm grateful for you for coming on and being a part of this, because it is about community. At the last festival, the last thing I said to those people, the audience, our community, is I will be reaching out to y'all in 2 weeks, because we are going to make Afros and Audio what it is. It's not me. I'm the dude who was crazy enough to listen to a dude who said, create an event. He thought it was 2-hour meetup. I said 2-day festival in my head, and I was crazy enough to pursue it. But it has never been about me. And that's what is going to support us all as we move forward, because we get to do this and we get to create it the way we want it, the way we envision it. So I talked too much just then. Say final words.
Listen, Ty, you felt that shit though. Like I wasn't gonna stop you either, because I was like, damn, Ty, like you, but I agree with everything that you said. You know what I'm saying? Like if you was just rambling, I would have cut you off. But I agree with everything that you said, and I'm glad that you did share it, because we are in alignment on that, and I feel like it just really shows to the people what Afros and Audio really comes from. This is the man, y'all. This is the man that created this community, and that's the real of why he created this community. And that's why I fucks with you. You know what I'm saying? Because I believe that you believe everything that you're saying, and I am in agreement with everything that you're saying. And so, I appreciate you. I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this community and to be able to participate and grow in this community. And I'm looking forward to all of the lives that we're going to touch together. I did want to answer this question real quick. I saw Power Not Pity. I know Instagram finna cut us off, but I did want to, we got a few extra minutes because we had the, okay then, yes.
The universe.
I saw that Power Not Pity asked, how would you deal with the pressure of being consistent? I'm not able to really put out episodes in an automated way because I'm disabled. So let me tell you, my answer to that is that consistency is whatever you make it, okay? So whatever frequency works for you, then that's what you set up. And as long as you communicate that from the beginning, your audience will be okay with it. It's all about communicating with your audience, letting your audience know what you got going on, what it is that you're doing. So if what you're saying is that I can't do weekly episodes, then don't set the expectation for weekly episodes. If you can only do them every other week, they have some podcasters that do shows every other week. There's some podcasts that only come out once a month. There's some podcasts that come out quarterly. It's really about how you want to set it up. So whatever you feel you can maintain, then you set that expectation from the beginning. You write that into your show description. You know what I'm saying? This is a bi-weekly podcast. This is a monthly podcast. This is a quarterly podcast, whatever it is. And then you maintain that consistency. You get what I'm saying? So whatever you can do, then you set that expectation from the very beginning.
Yeah, I definitely co-sign that. I agree with that. And something that, again, when considering the way in which it's done, that blueprint that we all kind of start in our head and can kind of mess us up before we even get going. A lot of times, no one is again privy to your concept or your idea or your schedule or anything. So that pressure that you're feeling outside of yourself, it really hasn't even started yet. It's really just like Latrice said, you deciding and then you creating accordingly. Create accordingly, because there is value in all of that. There's value in I can guarantee you that if you're putting something out bi-weekly, monthly, or whatever, the people who rock with you can't wait for that month, but they will wait for that month. You know,
like I just told y'all, when I took a hiatus, I communicated to my audience, hey y'all, I'm taking these 4 weeks off because I'm tired and I need a mental break. And then at the end of that 4 weeks, when I realized that I wasn't ready to come back, I came back to them again. And I said, look, I know I told y'all I was coming back, but this is where I am right now. I'm just not in a place to do it right now. And I'm going to let y'all know when I am in that place. And then I would just check in with them periodically. And I would say, hey, I'm still here. I'm still alive. And you know what? My audience, they would message me, hey, girl, I'm just checking in. See how you doing. You know what I'm saying? I'm just making sure you all right, sis. Is there anything I can do to help you, sis? I'm waiting on those episodes, sis. And so they're ready for this finale episode. They're ready for what I have coming up next because I have communicated with them and they rocks with me because I have communicated with them.
Word up. So we got 40 seconds left. Tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Latrice Sampson Richards. You can find me on Facebook at Latrice Sampson Richards. You can go to my website, latricesampsonrichards.com. And if you want to sign up for the waiting list for Trust Village Academy, you can go to trustvillageacademy.com and put in your information and get on the waiting list for when we do the relaunch.
Nice. All right, Afros and Audio Festival is November 14th and 15th, Saturday and Sunday. We hope to see y'all there. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Appreciate y'all.